So, absolutely catastrophic economic data coming out of Russia today. Again, we have the steel industry in a state of total collapse. We have MMK, it's the third largest steel producer in Russia, coming out with earnings for the first half of 2025, down 89%. MMK, you can Google it. I'm not making this stuff up. MMK, down 89% for the first half of 2025. This is on the heels of last week's Severstal earnings, another of the largest steel producers in Russia, down 55% for the same period, year over year, first half 2025. Catastrophic numbers. And on the CEO calls, they blame it on the collapse in the housing market, the collapse in the construction industry. They blame it on higher interest rates. What's the one thing? Can you guess? What's the one thing they don't blame it on? I'll give you a second to think about it. Yeah, they don't blame it on the genocidal global terror binge that their Führer has been waging for the past 22 years. That apparently has nothing to do with any of this stuff, right? It's just an economic cycle, right? For your steel company to be down 89% year over year. Okay, so okay, but maybe it's just the steel industry. Probably the rest of the economy is okay, right? Yeah, okay. Let's skip over to the oil market. So the oil market for the second quarter, generally they release earnings usually in the last half of July and the first half of August for the second quarter. So we have the first of the seven largest Russian oil and gas producers coming out. This is Rusneft, Russneft, coming out with earnings. They're down 69% year over year. 69%. This is the first. This is the first of the earnings coming out. So we've got another 10 days or so probably of more of these spectacular financial results coming out. We still have Basneft is the sixth largest producer. We got Tatneft is the fifth largest producer. Fourth is Surgetneftgaz. They're the fourth largest producer, Russian gas and oil. Then we've got Gazprom Neft, the third largest. Lukoil is the second largest. And the first is, of course, Rosneft. Rosneft owns Basneft, so they probably won't, yes, they don't come out with their own earnings. And once again, the CEOs are blaming the cyclical economic situation. You can't say what it really is. So over the next 10 days, we're going to have some spectacular numbers, really, because the Russian oil and gas industry, that's what makes the whole global terror binge proceed as the Führer plans. Without that's it. I mean, the steel production, housing industry, that's all consumer stuff. That's guys on the ground, guys driving trucks and working in the glass skyscrapers in Moscow City. But when you talk about cold hard cash that makes its way in North Korean weapons factories and missiles to launch into Ukrainian apartment buildings in the dead of night, that's basically the oil industry. And we cut the oil industry out. The West fails to do that still. These little sanctions of sanctioning 100 tankers, and that's been incremental and it's helped, but they still lack the stones apparently to do this. So that's the economic situation. Let's cut over to Aeroflot. Aeroflot. This is an awesome story. Aeroflot was hacked. That's the national airline of Russia. I mean, it's historic. It's been around forever. They had the highest crash rating in the 1980s. Late 70s through the 80s. If you didn't want to fly on Aeroflot, it could be a death sentence. But they cleaned up their act a little bit. In the early 2000s, bought a lot of U.S. planes. But so they were hacked by this hacker group is claiming to be associated or are the Belarusian opposition, the opposition to the Lukashenko, the dictator up in Minsk, the guy who basically killed someone to gain power in '94, I believe, and continued jailing opposition until he had complete control, and now he basically runs a prison colony where you can't fly anywhere. You get on a plane in Russia, there's Belarusians on that plane. For some reason, I always sit next to them, and they've got a cousin in jail that's been disappeared, or a brother that was disappeared, or so and so has been tortured, and they've fled the country. Anyone who wasn't part of the game left in 2020. They almost got rid of this guy, but then Lukashenko called Putin, and they took control of the media. But anyway, so these people apparently they're pro-Ukrainian, of course, and they hacked Aeroflot yesterday. And Aeroflot is now saying that they have thousands of stranded passengers all over the country. It's in total disarray. They can't refuel their planes. They erased the ticketing system. 7,000 servers totally erased. The backups all over the world, in Hong Kong, everywhere, erased. The airline says it's going to cost them up to $50 million and take 6 months to get the company fully operational again. I can read you a mainstream article about what happened here. This is from MSN. A hacking group called Silent Crow claimed responsibility for the action alongside an outfit called or known as Cyber Partisans. We declare the successful completion of a prolonged and large-scale operation. Apparently, they were in these servers for a year. So I mean, they have the personal data of everybody that works at Aeroflot. I mean, everyone contracted with Aeroflot, control of everything. As a result of which the internal IT infrastructure of Aeroflot was completely compromised and destroyed. Silent Crow wrote on Telegram, "Glory to Ukraine, long live Belarus." The hackers claimed that a year-long infiltration of Aeroflot systems allowed them to steal 20 terabytes of data and destroy 7,000 servers. The scale of the attack has led to questions about who the hackers actually are and how much threat might they pose to Russia. The big worry among the Russian corporate world now is, are these guys in our servers? Are these guys going to take us down? I mean, banks. I mean, who knows where these guys are? But they're obviously pretty good, and they are on Team Liberty, which is pretty awesome. Who is Silent Crow? The Telegram channel that serves as the group's mouthpiece was formed on Christmas Day 2024, with the first attack claimed just weeks later. In January 2025, Silent Crow said that it was behind a breach of Russia's real estate agency or registry, Rosreestr, that compromised around 2 billion records. Oh yeah, it was hacked into the government. Yeah, that was pretty spectacular. If you guys remember that. That same month, the hackers claimed responsibility for an attack on Russian telecom firm Rostelecom, which leaked customer information through one of its contractors. The company claimed that no sensitive data was stolen, as they usually do. Other claimed targets include Moscow's Department of Information Technologies, Kia, Russia, and Alfa Bank, Russia's largest private bank. The group's motivation: Silent Crow positions itself as a pro-Ukraine group of activist hackers that target Russia and its allies. You are incapable, this is a quote, "You are incapable of protecting even your most critical infrastructure," the group wrote following the Aeroflot attack. "To all members of the repressive apparatus, your digital security is meaningless." It's like a scene out of that movie. What was that movie, V? You've long been under observation. I mean, they were in these servers for a year. Who knows what they have? The group's targets, as well as the fact that it has never demanded any sort of ransom. This is purely humanitarian operation. This appears to be the first time that the group has worked alongside Cyber Partisans. So these two groups have joined forces, apparently. Cyber Partisans are a long-established hacker group from Belarus who have been operating since at least 2022, the year that Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The group describes itself as a highly organized hacktivist collective that is fighting for the liberation of Belarus from dictatorial rule. As Russia responded, the Kremlin described the latest cyber attack against Aeroflot as worrying, in quotes, worrying, while Russia's prosecutor's office has launched a criminal investigation. Senior Russian lawmaker Anton Gorelkin described, it's just some Russian nonsense. Yeah, anyway, so bad things are happening to bad people, and who can blame the good people for taking the law into their own hands? So let's skip over to Russia's wheat harvest. Russia's wheat harvest is proving to be as awesome as we had hoped with Savicon. It's an analyst firm for the agriculture industry with clients the likes of Cargill and Mars, all the biggest. They are saying that Russia's wheat harvest has been cut in half, down 56%, amid slow pace and low yields. Russia's wheat harvest has plummeted to half of last year's output, according to Savicon, raising concerns about global grain supplies. Russia's wheat harvest has seen a significant decline this year, with only 11.0 million metric tons harvested as of July 11th, a stark contrast to the 24.8 million metric tons recorded at this time in 2024. Yeah, so it's more than half loss. Remember, Russia is a natural resource economy. They don't have really anything else. They can't have a Tesla. They can't have any ideas they have are basically stolen from the West. And so when they lose this natural resource economy, this is all they have. This is everything. So, this is just yet more good news. So the logistics networks of Russia's rail systems, it's not only Russia's airlines that are having problems leaving thousands of people stranded. We have a Ukrainian drone strike Russian rail hub in Rostov, disrupting military logistics. That was just last night's strike. This has been happening about every 2 days now, and it seems to mainly be in any area in which Russia is using to pour military gear and troops into Russia. So, these really are military strikes. Ukrainian drones struck multiple targets in Russia's Rostov Oblast early Friday morning, including a major railway station in Rostov-on-Don, in a direct response to Russia's continued war of aggression and its use of civilian infrastructure for military purposes. The drone attack hit the Rostov-Glavny railway system, a critical transit hub used by Russian forces to move troops and weapons into occupied Ukrainian territories. Russian authorities confirmed the explosions and fire, which injured at least 4 people and forced the evacuation of more than 300 passengers. That's the governor of that region says he claimed emergency services have contained the damage. Source in Ukraine's military intelligence, HUR, speaking to Ukrainian media, said that the operation targeted Russian military logistics, a growing focus of Ukraine's strategy as it seeks to strike the infrastructure, enabling Russia's invasion and occupation. Quotes, "This is not a random attack. Russia is using its civilian infrastructure to wage war." And then there's just more details. But Russia, it cites some of the other in the past couple weeks, Taganrog, Voronezh. There's other regions of Russia that have been targeted, and so Ukraine is slowly trying to dismantle Russian logistics, which is a wide move. Ukrainians they're not like Russians where they need to send ballistic missiles into apartment buildings to terrorize the population. They are, hitting military targets because Ukrainians are civilized people, and they're waging war as civilly as possible to oust the invaders. So we have the other thing. Oh, Sumy. This is more bad news for Russia. So Putin's big PR operation for the summer was supposed to be this big offensive where Russian troops were going to go into Sumy and they were going to take over, and they would use that PR to then lobby the West, say, look, you can't stop Russia. It's futility defined, and we will take Ukraine. It's better just to go ahead and give us all these regions and let us quietly genocide the population. And then they would add these people and the resources, strategic location, and massive mineral wealth, oil and gas, everything that Ukraine has. They would add that to further fuel the war machine to go further for the rest of the Ukraine. And then, of course, the Baltics. They've done 2 tests in the past couple of days with drones, and last night a ship into the Baltics. They're already testing NATO on this stuff. So there's no doubt that Russia is going to go as far as possible. But the Sumy district was supposed to be the shining summer example in which they were going to show the West. And anyway, so just it didn't work out. And it's an understatement. So this weekend, Russian Telegram is having a fit because none of it has worked out. And we have, I'll read you some of the lamentations out of the Russian war bloggers this weekend. So Ukrainian forces are now kicking the Russians out of the Sumy region. Long story short, Ukrainian forces surround and eliminate hundreds of Russians in the Sumy region. This is out this morning. One of Kiev's elite commando infantry regiments led the way in carrying out what was possibly one of Ukraine's biggest ground forces successes for many months. The 2-week-long battle contrasted sharply with the recent trend of relentless Russian advances, ending with Moscow's motor rifle and elite marine units surrounded and pounded for days by Ukrainian FPV drones, howitzers, and rocket artillery. Most of these forces that are coming now are on Chinese golf carts and motorcycles, right? Some of these motorcycles are from World War II. I mean, they're just raiding the Russian world and grabbing anything they can to put meat on them and send them into Ukraine, where Ukrainians then send, sometimes $200 drones to wipe out, 15 guys and, sending them in boxes back to the motherland. So Ukraine's just ramping drone production. So is Russia, unfortunately, but we are in a positive situation in Sumy, and this weekend the Russians were all over the blogosphere, just Telegram, really not taking it well. Official Ukrainian sources, mainstream media, independent OSINT researchers, combat reports from Ukrainian units, and Russian social media comment reviewed by Kyiv Post article reviewed by Kyiv Post, all confirmed a Ukrainian victory. Yeah, well, that's Sumy. So things are looking up in Sumy, and for the Kremlin, they're looking down. Anyway, so that's the Kuzbass region, the coal-producing region of Russia. They now require a government bailout in Russia. They don't want to call it that, so they just forced the banks to do some sort of fake auction where they all agreed to bid to bail out the regional government of the Kuzbass region of Russia. That's the coal mining region of Russia, and with the price of coal down 50% in the past year, coal exports down 58%, coal production down 50-something%. Everything's been cut in half. And anyway, there's no jobs, and the people are basically screwed, and now the government's screwed because there's no tax revenue from the coal. And things are getting worse and worse. People are leaving, and so they're bailing out the government. And there's an article about that this morning. I expect that we'll see a lot more of this stuff happening over the next 6 months. Like I said, October is the month for these things in Russia. So I'm looking at October. We just got a couple months left on this. So yeah, anyway, that's the update. Have a good day.